The final episodes of Stranger Things Season 4 have a bunch of Easter eggs and callbacks. Even die-hard fans of the show might have missed some of them. Have you noticed that the final episodes referenced not only classic 80s horror movies, but 90s classics too, like Star Wars and Terminator? Did you know Joseph Quinn's real-life talents were incorporated into the best scene of the season?
I remember thinking, how have they come up with this?
And why was David Harbour super excited to fight a Demogorgon?
Yes, I was, in a lot of it, yeah. It was particularly brutal.
Let's dive in. The omnipresent Michael Myers. There are a number of nods to the Halloween franchise in Stranger Things, especially in Season 4. The first is when Max is in the dream world trying to escape from Vecna. She passes a tombstone with the name Myers on it. The next was when Eddie's given the infamous white mask to conceal himself, as he's the most wanted man in Hawkins. On top of that, it's also a throwback to Season 2. You definitely remember how the gang, dressed up as Ghostbusters, stumbled upon someone in a pair of coveralls and a Myers mask. It ended up being Max, and in Season 4 she gave that very same mask to Eddie. But the actual homage to the original Halloween is the similarity between the fate of Mike Myers and Vecna. Just like in the classic slasher, Stranger Things' biggest monster is shot several times. He falls backwards out of a second-story window, landing on the ground. However, when Nancy, Steve, and Robin head downstairs, his body is nowhere to be found. This is yet another callback to the 1978 movie. When Dr. Loomis shot Michael Myers, he fell through the window, but just like in Stranger Things, the killer's body disappeared. That definitely means that Vecna's still out there somewhere. And maybe in Season 5 he'll stalk the halls of the hospital looking for Max, like Myers did in Halloween 2 looking for Laurie. Apart from this movie, there are other intriguing callbacks to the pop culture of the 80s. The Alien Lab. This season, Brett Gelman's character had his fair share of key moments, but one of his lines was especially dear to Star Wars fans. As Murray, Joyce, and Hopper are driving into a Russian prison to take down the Demogorgons, they notice there are no guards at the entrance. When Hopper wonders if breaking back in will be that easy, Murray echoes with a running gag from the Jedi movies.
Very bad feeling about
this. A really bad feeling about this.
I don't know, Jim. I got a bad feeling about this.
Hilariously, Matt and Ross Duffer referenced Star Wars creator George Lucas behind the scenes as well. The two had to apologize for forgetting about Will's birthday in Season 4. If you were watching closely, in Episode 2, you might have noticed a sequence where a rolling camera captures Mike, Will, and Eleven skating. In the corner of the tape, it says the date is March 22nd, which has already been established as Will's date of birth back in Season 2. But in the current season, there's not a word about it. To the Duffers' credit, they did admit to the mistake.
I've always been like, don't George Lucas things, but now I'm kind of, we have George Lucas things also that people don't know about.
So maybe this tiny detail will be fixed one day soon, like they already did with Billy's name on the tombstone. But let's get back to the horror film callbacks. In Season 4, Volume 2, Joyce and Hopper find the Demogorgon lab in the Russian war camp. There they encounter monsters trapped in glass tubes with the results of the experiments done on the captured creatures. Eagle-eyed fans noticed how similar this looked to a scene from the movie Alien Resurrection. Although this film was released in the 90s, it's a meaningful Easter egg and an homage to Winona Ryder, who starred in it. And there's one more throwback to another movie from that decade. It comes from Robin in the scene where she, Nancy, and Steve are seemingly miraculously saved from Vecna's vines.
I don't believe in a higher power or divine intervention, but that was a miracle.
It echoes Samuel L. Jackson and John Travolta's famous scene from Pulp Fiction.
You know what divine intervention is? What just happened here was a f***ing miracle.
And if you're wondering what that has in common with Stranger Things, here's the answer. Maya Hawke's mother and Quentin Tarantino's muse, Uma Thurman. And we can't ignore Nancy's badass moment where she uses a shotgun against Vecna. No doubt many viewers felt it was reminiscent of Terminator 2, where Sarah Connor takes down her enemy. Thankfully, despite the overall gloomy vibe of Season 4, there were also sweet moments of nostalgia in it. Brat Pack inspiration. Season 4 gave fan favorite Robin a love interest, her bandmate Vicky. But her dreams of a romance are dashed in a heart-crushing scene in a gun store. In that scene, Vicky is styled just like Molly Ringwald's character from the cult classic rom-com 16 Candles. She was a member of the so-called Brat Pack, a group of highly successful film stars of the 80s, known first of all for movies like The Breakfast Club and St. Elmo's Fire. In fact, when Vicky's looking away, she looks almost identical to the iconic 80s actress. By the way, Robin's new beret is just oozing some Major Jill Valentine vibes, though it's a character from the 90s. This season also brought us a minor antagonist in the Hawkins High jock Jason Carver. He believes the Dungeons & Dragons Club is responsible for the death of his girlfriend Chrissy, and starts a wave of satanic panic among his fellow citizens. It turns out actor Mason Dye didn't research real-life cases of this event to get into character. He didn't even know it was a thing. But that doesn't mean Mason didn't prepare for the role. I was just watching Tom Cruise movies and Preachers online, he shared. So if Jason reminded you of Cruise in Risky Business, you totally got the point. However, arguably the coolest Easter egg is Hopper's massive sword. David Harbour revealed that it's the exact prop sword swung by Arnold Schwarzenegger in Conan the Barbarian. It's not clear how the sword happened to be in the Russian prison in the first place, but Hopper's battle with the Demogorgon is truly epic. However, there are even more badass scenes in Stranger Things Season 4. But first, check this out. Visit our awesome merch shop. We have branded t-shirts, hoodies, eco bags, and even phone cases. You can choose between dozens of unique and awesome designs. Click the link under the video and find your perfect match. The most metal moment. The Dungeon Master Eddie immediately became a fan favorite. Sadly, viewers had to say goodbye to him way too soon when he sacrificed himself in the season's finale. But Eddie went out in one of the best ways possible, shredding a metal guitar solo before fighting off a horde of Demobats. Ever since the trailer to Season 4 came out, fans have been theorizing about which song he might play, going from Black Sabbath to Iron Maiden to Motorhead. However, it was the now classic single Master of Puppets by Metallica. The series music supervisor Nora Felder gushed that it was another one of those "it has to be this song" moments. But Master of Puppets lyrics actually refer to how the use of substances control the life of an addict. But it still worked as a perfect description of what Vecna does with his victims. Master of Puppets, I'm pulling your strings, twisting your mind and smashing your dreams. Blinded by me, you can't see a thing. Just call my name, 'cause I'll hear you scream. But what fans probably didn't realize is that in the now much-loved scene, Joseph Quinn was actually playing the guitar for real. It turns out the actor's been an avid guitarist since he was 7 and was part of a band in school. Ironically, the Duffer brothers didn't know Quinn was a talented musician when they cast him. I remember that we texted him, "Hey, by the way, can you play guitar?" recalled Ross Duffer. And he's pretty modest, so he's like, "Yeah, I'm pretty good." The Duffers were shocked to learn that Joe was more than good. He was amazing! Quinn confessed that he got the script for Stranger Things at some point in the pandemic and started practicing pretty furiously. Which certainly paid off, as the most metal concert ever seen is arguably one of the best in the entire show. Next, we'll talk about the Easter eggs that come straight from the King of Horror himself. Saving Max. Stephen King's creations have influenced Stranger Things more than once. One of the biggest inspirations was the novel Carrie and its screen adaptation. For example, at the beginning of Season 4, Eleven is relentlessly bullied by her classmates. She's sloshed with a milkshake at the roller rink. It's eerily similar to the prom scene with the telekinetic Carrie, who then gets her revenge on her haters. In the second part of the season, Max reveals that her favorite memory is the Hawkins ball where she danced with Lucas. That's kind of ironic, as Season 2 ended with a glimpse of the Mind Flayer looming over the school. This time, Vecna was able to break through, and the scene turned into the equivalent of the bloody prom scene from Carrie. Balloons started bursting and blood leaked out of them. However, such balloons also appeared in another adaptation of Stephen King's classics, the creepy clown horror story It. And there's yet another novel that has had a deep impact on Stranger Things. In Max's hospital room, we see Lucas reading out loud from The Talisman by Stephen King and Peter Straub. In the book, a 12-year-old kid learns he has the ability to flip between his world and another world. He embarks on an epic quest to find the artifact that will save his dying mother's life. The section Lucas is reading is about a character opening his eyes, hoping that Max will wake up. Still, the scene might suggest that in Season 5, the gang will be hunting down a similar talisman to save their friend. Moreover, the Duffers are now working with Steven Spielberg to make an adaptation of that novel for Netflix. So, even though the project is only in its early stages, it seems like a very appropriate Easter egg. If you liked this video, support OSSA by sending us super thanks. Just click on the thanks button under the video and choose an amount to donate. Stay awesome, and remember, we value each one of you. Thanks for watching, and if you haven't had enough of Stranger Things, check out our videos about the real lives of its amazing cast.